Hey everyone, Will here. So for today's video, we are going to be analyzing the second presidential election in American history. That means we're going to be going over the context of the race, the candidates in the race, and the results of the race. So without further ado, let's begin. So the second presidential election in American history took place from November 2nd, 1792 to December 5th, 1792, making the election itself span over the course of 33 consecutive days. Similar to the first presidential election in American history, the telegraph was still not invented yet, which made it very difficult to transmit information across the country effectively. So the second presidential election in American history marked the very first time an incumbent president was seeking re-election, the incumbent president being George Washington himself. Similar to the first presidential election in American history, George Washington was very popular in this election cycle and faced virtually no opposition from any major candidates. A big reason for this was Washington's unifying presence, with both the Federalists and Anti-Federalists serving in his presidential cabinet. Washington managed to appeal to both sides and remain universally popular across the country, with prominent Federalist Alexander Hamilton serving as Treasury Secretary, and prominent Anti-Federalist Thomas Jefferson serving as Secretary of State. The cabinet was embroiled with conflict. Originally, Washington considered stepping down after serving his first term as president, but after both sides encouraged him to run for a second term, he decided it was for the best, as he feared the increasing factionalism growing within the country as a result of political parties. As this election came closer and closer into view, Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton made a major proposition that changed the trajectory of this election. On February 8, 1791, the House of Representatives officially passed a bill establishing Hamilton's proposed First Bank of the United States of America. In his own words, Alexander Hamilton argued that a national bank was a political machine of the greatest importance to the state. Hamilton's main arguments to Congress for a national bank were that it would help the state collect taxes in order to alleviate debts owed as a result of the Revolutionary War. Although this plan sounded agreeable at first, because southern states owed significantly less debt than northern states, many southern state representatives agreed to sign on to Hamilton's plan only if the United States would move its capital city to an area closer to the south, that being the District of Columbia. Many politicians from the South, however, Federalists and Anti-Federalists alike, objected to this deal, including Virginia Representative James Madison. Madison, a prominent Federalist, argued alongside Secretary of State and prominent Anti-Federalist Thomas Jefferson that powers not expressly granted to Congress in the Constitution belonged to the states themselves. As this conflict grew, the bill was passed and a national bank was established. The passage of this bill by Federalist politicians, along with some Anti-Federalist politicians, frustrated James Madison and Thomas Jefferson, and in reaction, they created the Democratic-Republican Party in 1792, right before the election process had started. As with the first presidential election in 1788 and 1789, the original Electoral College allowed each elector allotted by a state to vote for two candidates for president. The candidate with the most electoral votes would be elected president, while the candidate with the second most electoral votes would be elected vice president. While each of the candidates in the race were technically running for president, both the Federalists and Democratic Republicans threw their weight behind Washington, so the race was essentially still for vice president, as with the first presidential election. Learning from a past mistake, the Federalists and Democratic Republicans both consolidated behind one candidate for vice president to ensure their party's votes did not split between different candidates. As a result of this, there were two candidates in the race vying for the role of vice president: the Federalist candidate, incumbent Vice President John Adams, and the anti-Federalist candidate, New York Governor George Clinton. The final result of this election was George Washington once again being elected president unanimously, with a total of 132 electoral votes from a total of 15 states. The two new states added to the United States at this time were Vermont and Kentucky. This election also marked the first time New York, Rhode Island, and North Carolina cast electoral votes in a presidential election. Coming in second place, winning a total of 77 electoral votes, was incumbent Vice President John Adams. Coming in third place was George Clinton with 50 electoral votes. The remaining 5 electoral votes went to two people who were not formally candidates in the race, with 4 electors going to Thomas Jefferson and 1 elector going to Aaron Burr, respectively. With only 0.88% of the population voting in this election, a lot of the country was prohibited from voting, including almost all African Americans, women, and non-landowners. At the same time, more than half of the states that voted in this election did not use voters to choose their state's electors. These states opted to instead use state legislatures. Thank you for checking out our video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more additional content. If you have any ideas for a future video topic, please leave a comment and let me know what you would like to see me cover next. I'm really hoping to grow this channel and provide you all with more content in the future, and your support means the world to me. Thanks, everyone.